Good evening, everyone. All of our viewers and listeners in YouTube land. We want to welcome all of you wonderful people this evening to our broadcast right here on Facebook and YouTube. It's a wonderful experience to be back here with you. I'm always looking forward to these moments, and I'm telling you, tonight's discussion going to be another important one. And I just wanted to fit our theme song so we can, get focused. The issues room comes on Tuesdays and Fridays, and today is our sixth edition. This evening we will be featuring the All Association of Liberian Journalists in the Americas, ALJA, post convention. They just ended a week long of a seventh convention held in the city of Trenton, New Jersey. My name is Volcano Shelton. Let me bring in Mr. Moses Sandy, one of our other hosts here tonight. Marcel is not with us tonight, but Moses, welcome to the Issues Room. This is our room, and we've brought in the leadership of ALJA in presence of Mr. Seboe Maparyan, who is the chairman of the board of directors, and I'm going in order, all right?
Right.
Followed by the national president, Joe Mason, who is also here with us tonight, and the newly elected vice president, Dr. Samuel Johnson, Y. Johnson, who will be serving alongside Joe for the next 2 years. And I don't know what happens to Samuel when Joe term ends in the next 2 years. He might just run to be president. Who knows? But welcome, man. Let's talk a little bit. Tell me what you expect the conversation to go, sound like tonight.
Well, I think the discussion tonight will be very interesting. We will be looking at ALJA holistically. What is ALJA about? When did this organization come into existence? What it hopes to accomplish? Will make up the membership. We'll also be looking at ALJA's relationship with the Liberian government. Because ALJA engages into media advocacy. So we want to see how smooth that relationship is, especially when they are speaking to those core issues in Liberia. You know. So I hope that and let me quickly note that we'll also be acting the leadership. Mr. Mason was re-elected for another 2 years. At this beginning, we want to know what he plans out for the Liberian media and ALJA as a whole. So I hope that this discussion goes well.
Thank you, Moses. And again, if you just join us, I see Successful Minor just got in the house. All of you, our viewers, please come in the chat room, join in the conversation, throw in your little chats here and there. Dabble in the discussion here tonight. But also something you left out. They'll also be discussing some of the events or activities at the event or the convention. We're talking about the keynote speaker. We're also talking about the reporter from the Minister of Information. We also looked at the fund drive. What did we accomplish as a result of the fund drive, and
Yeah.
what those monies will be used for? I think you and I were talking briefly before the show that Aja is almost now in a better place compared to the few years back when we were, soliciting support amongst ourselves. So
Yeah.
hopefully, this is the best trajectory. The word being used a little bit more that Aja is now heading. But
Yeah.
before we bring our guest in, we wanted to just give a quick synopsis of what next week will look like. One of the burning issues in the country is the current wave of ritualistic killings.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of different clips and short videos coming out, photos coming out, and people are saying it's not coming from Liberia. We heard a reporter from the information minister, but the vice president, came from the other side.
Right.
The situation is alarming, and there's a need to look, at this
Deeper.
very keenly.
Hmm.
So we'll be looking at that next week. We're also, concerned about the celebration of the president's birthday today,
Hmm.
and the fanfare and the pageantry around it. I talked to folks from Liberia. It almost appeared to be a holiday because people were not very much working a lot, and they were, sporting the red, gold, and green as though this is little Jamaica. So so much to talk about next week. But let's bring our folks in right now. Let me start again in the order. Mr. Board Chairman, welcome. It means you're the big man here tonight.
Yeah.
Fire. Let me bring the president in. Mr. Joe Mason, you're live. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for the
And
invitation
Dr.
to gather.
Samuel Y. Johnson, you're also in the issues room. This is the issues room. Moses, take the lead.
Yeah, German, I want to welcome you to the issues room. Tonight, we are under the microscope. We'll be looking at ALJA holistically, what you have done over the year, what you hope to do in the future. So I want to say welcome as colleagues. We hope that you feel comfortable. All of you were elected almost a week ago. So how you guys feel? Starting, fresh. I would like to start with you, Mr. President. It's almost a week now since you were re-elected. What are your plans? How you feel today?
Well, I think it's an honor to serve in this position. And I think when I spoke over at the convention, I also expressed my gratitude to my colleagues because, mind you, I was elected on a pause. And this is the second term. And I was also elected on a pause during my first term. And like I said at the convention, there are equally qualified men and women in ALJA, and the fact that they've elected me now twice on the polls, I think it's an honor and a blessing. So no, it's good when your colleagues have that level of faith and confidence in your ability to lead them. And so I think it's just the motivation that I need to be able to work even harder to show that the expectation that they have of me, I'm able to fulfill those expectations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And,
Mr. Board.
yeah, let's hear from Mr. Seboe and Dr. Johnson, who just joined the national leadership. He always work in the background. So, Mr. Chairman, how you feel? Beginning another chapter in the history of Aja.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Volcano Shelton. Thank you, our President Emeritus, Moses Sandy. It's an honor to be here this evening. Uh, I know that media is dear and near to our hearts. I know all of you have served in the Liberian media. You have immensely, contributed towards the media landscape in Liberia. And when we talk about media, we are basically talking about how we can inform the public responsibly. It's an honor for me to serve this position. I know there are a lot of qualified, way qualified than I am to serve in that position, but I think this is an honor bestowed upon me. I served as member of the board when my dear brother Volcano Shelton was our board chairman. He extremely, performed and he did his level best. So we are just going to step in his shoes and making sure that we can play our part and we can strengthen, we can partner, we can collaborate with the leadership and play our role in making sure that ALJA moves to the direction that it needs to move to. I have always said media in our time is a little bit different. Different in the sense that we have to set an agenda. We have to set a new trajectory to the new folks that are coming after us. Back in the days, media used to be when you were heard on the radio or when you were seen on the television. It was almost like you were an idol. But that kind of respectability, I would say it has kind of eroded, and we need to bring that back. So it's an honor to be here, Moses Sandy and Volcano Shelton.
Thank you. And so, Dr. Johnson, welcome on board. Uh, You are the second most powerful person in ALJA. What does it mean ascending to such a powerful position?
It's always gratifying to notice how well your colleagues respect, admire, and trust you. And like Joe said, this is not a decision by our colleagues that we take so lightly. I mean, it's humbling to know that I went to this contest with an opponent and I came out with up more than 70% of the votes. That speaks volume of the amount of respect, the amount of trust that my colleagues have in me. And so I look forward to 2 years of working tirelessly with the president, this time being in the forefront with him, unlike the previous years where I was in the back working as a technician, to see how we can move the organization forward. I mean, Arja has come of age. It has made significant advances over these past years. And I think it's only important that we continue to build on that trajectory in helping to move our country forward. Remember, when the media is developed, democracy is also strengthened, and so the country itself moves forward because you are able to ensure or able to nurture or nudge people in the direction of participatory governance. And so those are things we look forward to in terms of relationship with government. I don't think it's a question of whether we have a relationship with government or not. No matter what, we are in this business together with government. Yes, we're going to have some differences, which is acceptable, which is to be expected. But we're going to see how we can move this organization forward, irrespective of what people may say or think.
And I
Yeah,
think you emphasized the relationship with government, and from the last convention held the other night, the Minister of Information is a son of the media, meaning he started from grassroots, and he did emphasize his relationship with a lot of us in that room the other night. Do you think he was genuine about it? And uh, in as much as the relationship is what it is, there are times when we hold government foot to the fire. It comes across as Aja is being a little too hard. Um, do you think he was genuine? And we want to wait and see and see what will happen, and especially as we glide toward elections, because I'm sure a lot of things will come about. Moses, I mean rather
yeah,
Joel.
yeah. Any of you can go on
Yeah.
that.
No, yeah, when we reach out to, but traditionally, as an association, we've always extended invitation to the Minister of Information because, like you have rightly said, as an organization, we see ourselves as down the middle. We're not anti-government, even though that is the perception out there. So, and thankfully, folks from the government, whether at the level of the Minister of Information or even at the level of the ambassador accredited to the United States, they've always represented the government at our convention. I know in years past we've had, former Information Minister Eugene Angwe. We've had on the consistent basis the ambassador to the United States, George Patton, and before him, we had during the Sirleaf government, we had Ambassador Jeremiah Solonte. So we've always had a good relationship with the government. As a matter of fact, just weeks ago, the ambassador reached out to ALJA, contacted me to see how ALJA can and be a part of the country's bicentennial celebration. So it tells you that we work very very well together because Liberia is our country, and to the extent that we can help in whatever way we can as professionals, we will certainly do that. But that said, we also are an advocacy organization, an advocacy group that speaks to those core issues evolving in the country. And I think the minister understands that yeah, we sit on different sides of the divide. His responsibility as a minister is to propagate the government line. Our responsibility as an advocacy group is to cover issues as they evolve in the country. And we can do that while being respectful of one another, while seeing our role as what it ought to be, and at the end of the day, we all understand that Liberia is the common denominator and we all care deeply about Liberia. So I think he was genuine. The minister, like many of us practiced together, we came of age in the profession together. And so, yeah, he was able to relate to many of the folks in the room because he knew them personally. So no, I think he was genuine. But that aside, we have a role to play, and we'll continue to do that, as best as we can.
Any other person want to go on that?
I think we should move on to the next question.
Okay, yeah. So,
Okay.
Mr. President, you are talking to the world today, and there are a lot of people out there who may have a little understanding of what ALJA is about. Wouldn't you mind telling us a bit about your organization, the Association of Liberian Journalists? Uh, how old are you? When did you come into existence? What do you hope to accomplish? And who make up your membership?
Well, before I do that, let me just file a complaint against the team of the issues room. This is the second time we're on the issues room, and Massa is not showing up. I'm hoping that, I don't know if she's avoiding Aja, because the first time we were, and then again, I wanted to point out her dance move at the meet and greet. I mean, she brought out a really wonderful dance move at the meet and greet, and I wanted to point that out today. Maybe that's why she's not here, but hopefully, we can see Massa the next time. The next time we come on the issues room. But to the question, Moses,
Yeah.
ALJA as an organization began in 1998. Uh, During the crisis, when many journalists who worked in Liberia began to immigrate to the United States because, of the evolving crisis, and many fear for their lives, they realized that even while away from home, they needed to come together as an organization to continue to foster that camaraderie, but more importantly, for their voices to be heard in terms of what were unfolding in the country. So ALJA was established in 1998. Veteran journalist Kenneth Best of the Daily Observer was the organization's first president. And so, for the next few years, ALJA was a major factor, a major advocacy organization. I remember when I still lived in Liberia, the name ALJA resonated in the country. We hear the policy statements and the views on different issues occurring in the country. And I felt a genuine attraction to this organization. And I said to myself, when I came to these states, that I would identify with ALJA and be a part of what we're doing. Come 2001, unfortunately, there was an internal rift in the organization, and things folded. Unfortunately, the organization ceased to exist. So from 2001 to late 2014, when a group of journalists came together, including you, Moses, who headed that effort. I think I remember at the time, I was responsible for the just resuscitating the Board chapter, and then we met in early 2015 in Delaware for a mini convention just to decide, what we wanted to do, which direction we wanted to go with this organization. And I think the unanimous consensus at the time was that we needed to resuscitate this organization. We realized the value and the significance for which ALJA was founded, and we said to ourselves, we cannot let it stay dead. And so we had a mini convention in Delaware, which was followed by the first post-crisis convention later that year in Delaware. And I think it was at that convention that you, Moses, was elected the president, and I was elected vice president. So that is how ALJA began, and that is where ALJA is now. So for the next several years, with you as president, we worked to reestablish the organization, to give it a solid footing, and the aura of respectability that we think ALJA deserve, and it happened. And I think what we're doing now under my administration is to further that cause, to take the goalposts even further. When we started, we're crawling, and I think I say this uh, just to point out some of the struggles we went through as an organization. In the early days, Volcano was there. He can attest. Not Volcano, as a matter of fact,
Was Board Chair.
was the coordinator. He helped coordinate. Was, I
Yeah.
think, the co-coordinator, Moses, assistant
Mhm.
coordinator, just in this effort to resuscitate the organization. And we began. There were times when we would say to ourselves, "Hey, we about to host a convention. How do we get money?" And we will, talk to officials and say, "Hey, guys, you got to loan us some money to be able to do this thing." And so those were the crawling days. But I think, by and large, those who listen to us now can attest that ALJA truly has solidified itself as an organization We are a respectable voice, both here in the United States and in Liberia as well. And more importantly, people now see us as impacting the lives of our colleagues in a really positive way. Because I think overall, ultimately, that's our goal to change, and Volcano, I'll use the word, the trajectory of
That's
where
the
our
fourth
colleagues
time.
were.
That's the fourth time
Yeah,
I've been checking it.
so that's the long and short of ALJA, Moses.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Thank you.
Volcano, you want to follow up?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard the history of Alja time immemorial. I think Joe is tired, giving his history. But it's good for people who really don't know why Alja was established and what is it doing. But right now, everyone is concerned about the role of Alja in the community, and the community has to do with both Liberia and here in the U.S. Let me lean toward the board chairman because Dr. Johnson, even though he worked from the back, he may chime in, but let me lean toward the board chairman. What is Aja's intent for the next year or two? And I say this because having served in your role, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to motivate and get people on board. Usually, the way the convention is stacked, I wish that people could really avail themselves during the course of the year, and again, most of our members will go to sleep. You will call, you will run, you will do this. How do you impact membership to get on board and expand the plans that you have for the coming year?
Great question. When you look in our preamble, we exist to enhance press freedom, to enhance reconciliation, to create dialogue. Um, we also exist to encourage those who are currently practicing journalism and those who have also retired. But you can retire, but the pen doesn't retire. I see a lot of great guys, who are really master of the pen, and they've been doing extremely well. So we, as an organization, our responsibility, as I see, especially as board chairman, one of the campaign I am, or one of the tags I am going to be uh, going out there to enhance would be to see how we can bring on board those who are fence sitting. I think our work have spoken enormously for itself, and we need to incorporate and encourage those of our brothers and sisters who have served in the media landscape of our country, and make sure they all come on board so we can speak with one voice. Speaking with one voice, we can have diversity in unity. We can propagate our opinions in different ways, but when we come together, we are more stronger. I think one of the things we are going to be doing, especially as board chairman, like I said, I'm not going to have any other agenda other than encouraging and enhancing the agenda of our national leadership. So I, along with the board, will be very proactive. We will design and help with programming. One of the things I was even talking with my board members is to have a retreat. And as board members, what our responsibility is to go out there and scout for support for the organization and see how the organization can be strengthened. That's what we will be doing. We will engage our partners, and we will also be in consultation with the national leadership to advocate and articulate those conditions in our country, because in Liberia, we have to stand up tall and call spade a spade. There are lots going on in Liberia, and we have to speak to those issues. I know our president in the past and present uh, has been doing exceptionally well. But we need to be very strategic and very specific in calling to both some of those responsibilities of government that they renege on. Government, especially in Liberia, you are there to the nation signs a social contract with you to protect all of us. And our part is to do what we can do as citizens to also support the government. So with all of the things that have been going on in our country, we have to speak to those issues. Of course, we do it with we are going to be very responsible in doing that. We are not going to be fighting. We will agree to disagree on major issue in our country. So I, as board chairman, along with my colleagues, we will be very proactive in supporting our leadership in articulating those vices that tend to disintegrate our society. And coming at home, we will also make sure that we, as an organization, transition from what I call just meeting to
conventional ALJA.
Right. We need to move one step beyond. I think in my remark, one of the things I actually highlighted was we need to empower our national leadership to travel abroad, to places like Germany, to France, to England, and attract onto the organization those values that we stand for. And we can also advocate for our brothers and sisters who are shortcoming in most of the things they need, the equipment they need. It's one thing when you say empowerment. Empowerment is actually giving somebody the tool to work with. The media in Liberia needs to be given the tool. How do we do this? We need to partner with international organizations in attracting those tools so that we can put it in the hands of our brothers and sisters in Liberia to be able to articulate the situation, what is affecting our country. So those are a few things I can actually tell you that we will be working on in connection with the national leadership of ALJA.
So
I did a check to make sure my passport has not expired now that it's bullshit for traveling. I really need to check to.
And you should also write that big check, Mr. President.
I can tell you, my wife is dancing at the background. She said I did well.
Yeah, that's excellent. Now let's go to the vice president. Dr. Johnson is a strategist. Dr. Johnson, ALJA been around for 23 years. He came into existence in 1998. You wasted 10 years in 2004 when you crumbled and came back in 2014. Now, you guys are starting a new tenure. What is the strategy for a viable and stable ALJA as we approach the year 2023?
The strategy is to focus on those things that make ALJA what it is today and improve upon its status and outlook. Talking about those 10 years, I don't consider those years as years of waste. Those were years that were part of the evolutionary process of the organization. And so since then, we've tried to draw lessons from the experiences of those 10 years and to use those lessons to inform our own migration in the years to come. And so one thing I think the president has clearly articulated has been a clear vision, one that is inclusive and representative of the issues that confront the media in Liberia. I think I heard Volcano saying ALJA is not going to be a convention ALJA. For sure, ALJA is not going to be a convention ALJA because if you look at ALJA over the last 4 years, it has gone beyond being merely a convention where we sit and just talk. My former boss used to call it talk shop. Right. But what we've done is to embed in our own meeting the process of engagement with our colleagues back home for whom we primarily organized. And that has involved organizing capacity building workshops and trainings for journalists back home in Liberia. Like you saw in the past week, we had 4 outstanding people in media, both at the academic level and at the practice level, providing training lectures to colleagues in Liberia. And the impression from whom is that the training was very, very rewarding. It was very, very appropriate, and colleagues look forward to using those experiences in their own work. And so that is the direction in which we are taking ALJA. But one major challenge this organization faces, like every organization in the world, is the challenge of resources. I heard Seboe talking about having the president to travel in other places. And I think primarily it's not for him to go and have a fanfare, but to go and draw lessons, to go and understudy the operations of such kinds of organizations in those countries. And so one thing we've targeted this year, working with the president, one of our agenda is how do we diversify our revenue stream, our funding stream beyond membership dues or convention payment revenues. And that is one area we've been working on in the last 2 years, trying to attract funding from other foundations and sources that are able to support our own work. And so those, I do not want to outshine the president here because I'm not supposed to as vice president, but those are things we intend to do that we think can move this organization one step further, if not 5 steps further.
Let me come in quickly. Mr. President, at the 2019 convention, if I recall, we generated funds. I think it was the first time they have launched the membership drive, or rather, media drive, the media fund drive.
2018.
And again, I believe I was not at the 2020 convention. I'm not sure if you guys did same, but the previous convention that just ended last weekend, we did same. Have we ever identified any specific projects since this media fund drive started, and has there anything been done in Liberia or even here? Because one of the things I remember we were talking about, don't only care about the other people, you got to take care of yourself as well. And ALJA still have people in ALJA who are actively practicing. But has there anything been done so far with these media fund drive, specifically Liberia?
Yes. So when we launched the fund drive in 2019, obviously it did not garner the same level of success that we're able to achieve this going weekend in Trenton, New Jersey. But that said, the funds we raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota, was part of efforts that went towards the COVID-19 relief. Remember, when COVID struck, our colleagues in Liberia at some point were under lockdown basically because of the COVID, and as a consequence, many didn't have food, and there were no marks for them, and so we came together and said, how do we identify with our colleagues at this very difficult time, even though we ourselves were in the United States, but dealing with the COVID crisis. But as difficult as our situation is here in Volcano, we can say safely that we're more blessed, many of us here in the United States, compared to many of our colleagues in the country. I'm not taking away from some very successful people in Liberia, but because we live in the richest country in the world, many of us, can afford most things that our colleagues in Liberia cannot afford. So we came together and said, how can we intentionally help our colleagues in the country? So we were able to purchase food, we were able to purchase masks that we were able to donate to our colleagues in Liberia. We were able to reach to many of the auxiliaries in the union, including the Female Journalists Association, the Publishers Association, Reporters Association, and the list is endless. That was one intentional effort that benefited our colleagues. Uh, Earlier this year, the vice president was on his way to Liberia. We had just received some laptops from a partner of ours, Acer. They gave us a number of laptops, and we said to ourselves, well, yeah, these laptops, even though they were meant for us to use here in the United States, but we realized that, again, like I said, our colleagues in Liberia need these things more than we do. So we went into the media fund drive, purchased additional laptops, purchased some macro recorders that were able to donate to a number of media institutions in the country. And I tell you, our colleagues were very appreciative of this gesture. And then it tells me that, if they could appreciate, that little gesture, it leads me to wonder what it will do when we begin to be more intentional in some of the other things we need to do. So I'm really excited that at this convention we're able to raise the most we've raised for our media fund drive. It now positions us to be able to do even more. We've been able to do training, but those training and capacity building exercises have been done mostly during our convention when we're able to raise some money. Now that we do have some money, we can be able to structure our training, not just doing conventions, but do them periodically. So, the Human Resource Development Committee will get together and begin to plan out some of these intentional training exercises. What we also announced at the convention, Volcano, is the first time ALJA will launch a scholarship fund. We'll be launching a scholarship fund in honor of our late colleague, Mr. Blamo Robinson, who was a valuable partner of ALJA. As a matter of fact, for many years, Blamo served as ALJA's representative in Liberia. He attended many of our conventions, so we thought that would be an appropriate way to honor his memory. And so we'll be launching the ALJA scholarship fund to benefit deserving and aspiring journalists in the country. The other thing we intend to do too, with the funds we've raised, is to also identify specialty reporter that we can encourage. You would agree with me that political stories most times are the dominant stories in the country. We think there are a lot of other things that are occurring in the country that journalists can be able to pay attention to. What an issue around equality, gender issue around people with disability. Those voices need to be heard. The stories need to be told. So one of the things we're trying to do is to encourage that kind of storytelling, elevate that kind of reporting nationally. And so we want to identify ways we can incentivize reporters and journalists who will be able to engage in such reporting. And so we be able to put some funds aside to be able to do that. But we'll work in partnership with the PEL, our partner in Liberia, to be able to accomplish this goal. And there are other things too we want to accomplish, but these are just some of the immediate goals and objectives that we have lined up to accomplish.
Yes. So your seventh anniversary was last weekend, the convention in Trenton, New Jersey. You want to tell us a bit about the activities for the convention?
Yes. So when we structured our convention, and I couldn't agree with you or more, AGA is a professional organization. Our conventions are structured to be unlike the conventions of other organizations. We don't do the typical just go in there, do the meet and greet, and eat. And I'm not taking away anything from the other associations or organizations. They have their own goals and objectives that they work towards. We have ours, and we say to ourselves, we are a professional organization. When we structure our convention, folks who follow us, folks that we serve, have to gain the most from this convention we structured. So the first goal as an organization that we have is to foster the spirit of camaraderie. Mind you, we colleagues, many of us work in Liberia under the same conditions that our colleagues work under right now. But we use the conventions as a way to strengthen our relationship, to strengthen our collegiality, if you may. And so we did not meet last year. When we met this year, I think it was a wonderful get together from the meet and greet to the General Assembly to the banquet itself. Just sharing those stories that bound us together. And so it was just a wonderful get together, just strengthening that bond that exists amongst us. We're able to accomplish that. The other thing we try to accomplish is a core objective of ALJA, which is building the capacity of our colleagues in Liberia. We decided, like the vice president just reiterated, we decided to structure our convention in a way that our colleagues gain the most. So we have the hybrid media training that he mentioned, included about 30 journalists who gathered at the I Center on Carey Street, and we're able to link up with them electronically through the power of technology. On Saturday, we had a really engaging and eye-opening discussion on the way forward in terms of how do we achieve an independent, ethical, and sustainable media in Liberia. On both occasions, we brought trained folks from universities, from colleges, veteran journalists, and the guys from Liberia. So I think on both occasions, those who followed the discussion of the convention will come away more informed. I mean, I was more informed about some of the issues affecting the media in Liberia when I went to the convention and I was going in, just because the guys are the ones who live on the ground. They know these issues firsthand. So as we try to attempt to address these issues, I think the important thing is to listen to them, to hear what their own prescriptions are. So that way, when we're partnering with either the PEL or other civil organizations, or partnering with institutions and organizations and individuals here in the United States, we have an idea in terms of what they want in terms of the prescription for finding solutions to this issue. So I think overall, it was a wonderful convention. It was one of these most successful conventions we held recently, and I think those who went can attest to that. So I'm really, really pleased at the outcome.
Thank you. We are at the intermission right now. I just like to remind you, our viewers out there, you are in the issues room. This program comes your way, or platform, podcast, however you want to term it, comes your way every Tuesday, 7 p.m., and every Friday, 7 p.m. We are broadcasted via Facebook and YouTube. At some point, we will extend to Instagram and other platforms to carry out broadcast. We're also trying to see if we can get connections in Liberia so that some of the radio and television stations can partner with us for content. We're looking forward to building such relationship. The issue room has three hosts. It's Volcano Shelton with your humble seven, Moses, Sandy, and Masa Washington, who is not in studios with us tonight. We're featuring the Association of Liberian Journalists here in the Americas, ALJA, and we have the national president, Mr. Joe Mason. We also have the board chairman, Mr. Seboe Maparyan, and the national vice president, Dr. Samuel Johnson Jr. Again, invite a friend, share the link. We want to encourage all of you, our guests, to remember that you're still newsmakers, and soon we'll be bringing you in your own capacities to discuss the issues in Liberia, particularly those trending issues. It won't be our job when Joe Mason comes in here. You're going to come as a news expert. Dr. Johnson will come in the same and Seboe. So it's another invitation in a subtle way that I am giving you in the coming days, because so
Is
many,
it
so many, so many, so many
is it an
issues.
invitation,
The
or
Yeah,
medicine,
you
the
inform the
medicine,
public that we are supposed to appear, and if we don't appear, it's our fault?
yeah. Well, yeah, because again, I'm sure that you guys are following what's trending in Liberia, and you will not be coming in the capacity of Aja. You'll be coming in your own capacity. So I'm just putting that disclaimer out there for now. But I also want to ask you, Mr. President, or any one of you can come in. One of the things that I've been thinking about is taking Aja to Liberia. Has that ever crossed your mind to hold one of our national conventions in Liberia? A lot of us here are going for vacation. Probably we could plan it around, because Liberia, you only got two seasons: the rainy season and the dry season. However you want to plan it, you can plan it. And if a lot of us here at the membership, and leadership level want to do this, I think it would be plausible. I think it's something to think about, and I just thought to throw this idea out here because we need to take Aja to Liberia. And how do you see that? Any one of you can come in.
Well, it's just it's a good idea, something that we can ponder over. One of the things we've tried to do consistently over the years that we've been around is to strengthen the relationship with the PEL. Because the PEL is a mother organization in Liberia, I think, and I think we've done a very good job of having the folks from Liberia come over on a consistent basis to our conventions here in the United States. Unfortunately, like we mentioned the last time we were on the program, because of COVID and visa restrictions, many of our colleagues were not able to travel this year. We're hoping that can change in the next year. But just looking at the prospect, even if it's not an entire membership, at some point, the leadership of ALJA need to go on the ground, and just have an assessment of what's going on. Yeah, we do that from afar, and we've done individual visits as members of the organization. But if we do that as an organization itself, like the board chair suggested, I think will help. And all these things take funding, and hopefully I'm sure we're not there right now, But given the momentum that I see in the organization, some of the things we're doing right now as a leadership, I'm sure that is not too far off when it comes to what we intend to do.
So I would like to go to chairman, the chair of the board of directors, Mr. Maparyan. Seboe, for your benefit banquet last weekend in Jersey, you had two powerful speakers. You had the Minister of Information, Ledger Rennie, who made remarks on behalf of the Liberian government, and you had the political leader of the People's Liberation Party (PLP), and you guys deliver powerful, statements. For example, the Dr. Cassell of the PLP said that Liberia's future will be doomed in the absence of an independent and ethical media. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think Dr. Cassell was very vocal. He stated what he's seeing on the ground. I know this is a question that has to do with, or you have to be very careful in answering, because we have our colleagues on the ground who, under the circumstances, are doing their best. But I think what Dr. Cassell was alluding to was media that will void itself of those vices that tend to entangle itself with the government. Media has to be independent. I know you asked me how independent is independent, but I know as a media personnel, our duty is to report the facts, to look at the two sides of the story, and tell it out there, and leave the result with the public to make an informed judgment. So I think this is where Dr. Cassell was coming from. I think his speech was powerful. I personally love it. I think it is laudable, because you actually have to, we as watchdogs of society, someone has to put us in check. If they feel that there are lapses that we need to work on, I think we can work on those things. I think this is where Dr. Cassell was coming from. That's my opinion on that. And the Minister of Information, Ledger Rennie, it's almost like, when you look at the social aspect, it appears he almost stole the show. Because when he started moving around, colleagues in the room, these are people he's worked with, it was almost like, oh, this guy is whom. But I know he tried to give the government side of the story, some of the improvements they have made. But again, those judgments can only be left with the public, because we can sit here and say all the good things and say Dr. Cassell was right, Information Minister was right. You know who is right? It is the Liberian people. All right. The Liberian people, they are directly affected by situations on the ground. Like I said, if their lives are not improved, as far as the role the government is supposed to play, those responsibilities that are supposed to be performed by government, if those are not really the case, the general public are the one who actually to speak to that. But I think Dr. Cassell really made his case, and I think that was quite telling, and I think it was a challenge to the government. And I can, before I end that statement, I personally was in Liberia. What I read for the month of June. What I realized in our country, every little corner you turn, you can see hardship written on people's faces. There is no job. there is, credibility is not there. Even you get to the airport, everyone fighting to, get your luggage for a little or nothing. Security personnel are there, oh my man, why you got for me? I mean, if the country is good, if people are working, if people are getting their just pay, they should not be able to inconvenience travelers. They should not be able to inconvenience other people. So these things are things that I personally saw on the ground. I think those didn't speak well for the government. As let's look at the issue of security. All right, people are in fear. You go to bed. In fact, right now, I was talking to some people in Liberia. They have to go to bed. I mean, they have to leave town very early. And someone told me, I want to make sure I'm home by 7 o'clock. That's not the Liberia I know. When we were growing up in the 60s and 70s, you could go out and party, you will stay out, you will never worry about who was going to take your life. Right now, that is completely the opposite. Was Dr. Cassell right to those issues? I think, yes, the Liberian people are the best judge, but I personally feel, yes, he was right on those issues.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So quickly, Emmanuel Jackson from Boston, one of our viewers, say that too many join the list individuals in Liberia misinforming and using the journalism profession for profiteering. Of course, with social media today, everyone is a journalist. You have all of the kinds of TVs. You have Yakba Wolo TV, you have John TV, all kinds of TV, women TV, market woman TV. Everywhere you turn is a TV. But the Issues Room is an alternative media platform, combination of professionals. We try our utmost best to ensure that we follow the tenets of journalism, to maintain civility and ensure that we treat our guests with the utmost respect, irrespective of differences of opinion. We just want to make sure we do what is right by our integrity as a platform. So again, we want to welcome all of you, our viewers, wherever you are. Continue to share the link. At 8 o'clock, we'll be opening the lines. In the meantime, just share the link, invite a friend, spread the word. You're in the right place. The Issues Room is where we discuss the things that matter. Moses coming.
Yeah, and I would like to go to Dr. Johnson. When we listen to some of the speakers, especially the guys from Liberia, they all spoke about challenges in the media. I heard the president of the Publisher Association say that currently there are 50 newspapers in Liberia. And I also heard him saying that just in Monrovia, we had 24 radio stations. And besides other community radio stations that, that are in other places. So it means that we have a multiplicity of media institutions in the country. But one of the most significant challenges he spoke about is the lack of media market. Advertisements are insufficient. As an institution dedicated to the advancement of the Liberian media, is ALJA in any way, thinking about helping the Liberian media in overcoming some of these challenges, Mr. Vice President?
Well, the issue the Publishers Association spoke to, talking about the number of radio stations in Monrovia.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, that's just Monrovia alone, but I remember the last media survey that was done a couple of years back said that there were at least 100 radio stations in Liberia.
Wow.
And that includes community radio stations as well. People may look at it as the country being inundated by various media institutions. I do not look at it from that way. I look at it as an indicator of vibrancy of the media institution, the media landscape in Liberia. Yes, there is a challenge. The challenge is financial sustenance. Many of the media institutions are unable to draw on sources beyond just sales of newspapers or advertisement. And the advertisement market itself is biased in such a way that certain media institutions benefit while others do not. But ALJA can help. And one thing we've been considering in discussion with the president has been tapping into alternative sources. One of our panelists at this convention, in person of Carter Reeves, indicated that. And if you look at even the United States now, media are sourcing. Let's forget about the United States. Let's look at Africa, for example, where social media has become a new way for the delivery of news and information. People are trying to find alternative sources of revenue to help sustain these media institutions. One of the areas we've been thinking about over the last years, the president and us, has been how do you bolster excellence in reporting in such a way that you are able to come together as media institutions and say, look, we want to launch this investigative study out of which we're going to draw this particular kind of report. In that way, you are able to attract a pool of revenue that can help sustain media institutions. But in that, as we think about that itself, you cannot do that without having the capacity to implement such program. And so that is what you see, that is why you see at the forefront of our own agenda has been the issue of capacity building. We believe that once reporters are capable, well trained to delve into specialist questions, the issue of the economy, for instance, the government reported a big drop in inflation. But why is it you're not seeing it on the market? What explains that drop? Is it really an effect of a depressed demand that many persons do not have the cash, or people are unsure of the next day and so they are holding their money and not spending like before? So you have fewer people now chasing a lot of goods? Or is it really only part of government's own intervention, for instance? What is the fiscal policy action that was taken to lead to that kind of outcome? You can only begin to think about those questions when you have the capacity to delve into those questions. And so that is why it's important for us. We try to think about nurturing reporters, to getting reporters capacitated to engage in specialist reporting, but not just specialist reporting for reporting's sake. We're pushing the line out of excellence in reporting. And so we believe that once you begin to cross lines, once you are able to tap into those particular areas, you'll be attractive for other forms of revenue. And so that is how we look at it for now. There could be other areas we could tap into. There are other people who are looking at the same question. And then we can begin to develop the media in that way.
If I might add,
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. President.
the issue of sustainability also drive the issue of independence. The issue of independence also drive the issue of ethics. So these three are inextricably linked, because if the media is not able to sustain itself, and there are a lot of challenges, like we heard during the panel discussion. One, I know one of the speakers mentioned that too, the lack of an efficient business structure.
Business structure in media institutions.
Exactly. And then the other thing too is that even if you have the best business plan, lenders in the country don't see the media as a profitable venture. And so
No.
they're not willing to lend the media money. So where do they get money from? So many of the media institutions in the country, like Dr. Johnson said, just rely on that one stream of advertisement. And so the government controls that stream, and the government can be very manipulative, when it comes to who gets that revenue stream. And so it's really a struggle. It affects how much reporters get paid. If reporters are underpaid, we can all agree to that. And if they are underpaid, then they tend to rely on gratuity, to survive. If someone is relying, and I'm not, this is not a blanket statement that covers all journalists in the country. But if you are relying on gratuity to survive, that means whoever is extending that gratuity to you, is able to drive the story in a way. So your objectivity, your independence in the way is questioned. Access is questioned. And then one of the things I heard too at the panel discussion is that many of the radio stations, newspapers, television stations are owned by politicians and corporate interests in Monrovia. And these politicians and corporate interests have their own goal that they want to achieve. And so their goal kind of supersede any ethical guideline that a journalist want to aspire to. So it's a serious challenge in the country. And I don't think this is something ALJA alone can solve. I think there has to be a holistic approach to solving this issue, which is why we decided that we would drive the discussion just to begin to understand, not just ALJA, but the national government, other stakeholders, what is civil society organizations, let's begin to understand the fundamental issues that confront the media. Because if we all agree that the media is an important player in the social economic development of our country, if we all agree that the media is important to sustaining the democracy we have in our country right now, then there has to be this collective approach to addressing this issue of media sustainability, to addressing this issue of how do we ensure that journalists in the country are ethical and they are independent. And then obviously, the whole explosion of social media, how do we ensure that there are guardrails when people, are exploring content on social media? So there's a lot of challenges, and we'll continue at our end at ALJA to exploring ways that we can be helpful, whether acting independently or acting in concert with other organizations and institutions to find solutions to these many problems in the country.
But
Mr. President,
let's be practical here. Moses, let me come in quick.
yeah,
Let's
go
be
ahead.
practical.
Well,
Let's be practical here, right, Mr. President? The Ministry of Information is the one that I believe issues license. At what point we say enough is enough? At what point we create a solid standard? Just like, say, for instance, any what you call institution that gives right to a business to function, like the Elections Commission, that gives right to a political party to say you are licensed to be a political party. Where are they on setting very solid standards that will hold these institutions foot to the fire when they're established to maintain themselves? If you cannot pay your people this amount of money, then you need not operate. And if you put in news out that is only for your personal interest and not for the greater good of the society, then you cannot operate. But then the catch-22 here is that the government itself, because someone they come across as an opposition, may not be given the right to establish a radio station. For instance, Punch FM. So don't you think the government itself is creating its own problem?
I would think the government needs to step away from the regulatory business. I think there has to be an independent regulatory agency that is responsible to oversee media entities in Liberia. Not just content, because I think one of the panelists said this correctly, that there's so many radio stations in Liberia right now that the LTA probably have run out of frequencies. They probably just jamming each other back to back. But there has to be an independent regulatory agency, because I agree the government might be biased against one particular agency or another, and they might not want you to operate based on their own bias. So let's have an independent agency that oversees institutions in the country to monitor content as well. Let's ensure that the content that's coming from these institutions, what is radio station, newspapers, meet the contents that ought to exist in a country such as ours. Because I know there was at one point there was a lot of backlash and maneuver because people were just putting out all kinds of what do we call it, rated X content, so much so that there were a lot of talking maneuver about why is this thing happening? Is there anybody who controls in terms of what comes on a radio station? So there has to be a regulatory agency that set guidelines, hopefully working with the PEL. And I mean, we can be more than happy to be engaged in that process as well, but it has to happen in a way that the media content that's coming out, you listen to some of the content. I mean, people just get on the radio and just insult, it can be really, really, really disturbing, especially for folks who know, what quality content ought to be. So that would be my answer. They have an independent regulatory agency to oversee content that comes out of these media institutions.
Can I jump
Let's
in?
do it.
Can I just add up to what the president has just said?
go ahead.
The PI has been the one at the forefront of regulating media practice in the country. The Ministry of Information does the registration and licensing. In fact, it's not only the Ministry of Information. You first have to register as a business entity with the Ministry of Commerce, going by the old law. And then you take that registration to Information Ministry. They will grant you the permit to publish or broadcast. If you are a radio station, you have to obtain your spectrum or frequency from the LTA now. So the PL, but the challenge there is that the PL doesn't have is the law gives the Ministry of Information that power to even regulate and accredit journalists. What has been happening over the years has been a result of a memorandum of understanding that was signed between the Ministry of Information. Then you have former PL President Lamini Wariti as minister and the President of Liberia at the time. So that's how PL does accreditation. The PL over the years have come up with a code of ethics and practice. It has established independent media commission. But over the years, as these things are implemented, there have been challenges. And like the president said, it's not only a challenge for us as ALJA or people at the President of Liberia. It's a challenge for all stakeholders in the media. So that involves political parties and civil society. That we'll have to go back to the drawing board and begin to see what went wrong. How do we come back to ensure new standards? Because the landscape has changed, and so you must go back to the drawing board and draw up standards to guard the practice. But the challenge with that is that even if the PL goes to work and sanction an institution, the institution says, well, I don't care. My reporters do have to be accredited by the President of Liberia to be able to practice in Liberia. And so where you have these institutions being controlled by vested political and business interests, that itself impedes the ability of the PL to function effectively as a regulatory body. And so these are things we must be able to pick up on. I know the PL has also been working in the area of improving the welfare of reporters, coming up with a collective bargaining agreement. That has been stuck. That was something that has been undertaken as far back as the years of Peter Kokoya as President of Liberia president. And so it's a multiplicity of challenges. So in as much as we want to talk about an ethical and independent media, we must also be able to talk about its sustainability. And these questions that came up during the panel discussion, what made it gratifying for me was that it was coming out of voices that are deeply embedded in the media landscape in Liberia, and not from people who are externally positioned like us. So it's about time that we drive it to the front burner and not keep it at the back burner, and getting civil society to come in and see how can we collectively work around these particular questions. Because for me, unless we can be able to get it right through legislation that charters the PEL like National Bar Association that licenses every journalist, and there's a law that if you're not licensed by the PEL, you cannot practice. These challenges will continue to persist.
Yeah,
let me just remind people to call in. The number is 44292-4397, so you can engage the officials of ALJA. We're discussing ALJA post-convention. Hassan Kiewu is all the way in Lexington, South Carolina, and he says that there are too many radio stations in Liberia that are owned and operated by politicians. So ethics is compromised. Absolutely. Because these news items are slanted in the interest of their paymasters. Come in, Moses.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear from the leadership. There are people who believe that one of the best way of resolving some of the challenges in the media is the merger of media institutions with similar philosophy. Take, for example, if Moses Sene and Joe Mason, have the same media philosophy, that, hey, we're going to promote professional journalism, ethical journalism, we will be balancing our reporting. We pull our resources together and set up a real viable entity. Because
let me just say, if Moses Sandy has the issues wrong, and Joe Mason has the political room.
Yeah, it will say it will not come together. Yeah, Joe Mason and Moses Sandy, the former merger, will say, hey, this is what we want, and I will bring everybody on board, pay our employees well, we set standard. Will that help in resolving some of these problems, gentlemen?
Well, that's a great question, but I just wanted to digress a little bit and comment on what we were talking about, media content. One of the things actually in Liberia that can get to my soul is the philosophy of the media institution. For example, you had back in the day, you had ELWA. They position themselves to actually improving the spiritual growth of humanity in Liberia. ELBC, they were there to propagate government policy and also inform the public as to how they can also be in partnership with government in driving those vested interests. All right. I remember now, Volcano, you can bear me witness. Those days, when you, even before you appear on the radio, they will have to do what they call, they will tell you, where is your program proposal? You will have to produce a program proposal. You will have to do an auditioning. Your supervisor will have to listen to you if it is a radio program that you are producing. But see what has happened in Liberia. When every program is a call-in program, there is no production anymore. All right, what happens to those things? So media institutions, if you can be very clear on what the philosophy of your institution and come up with a clear-cut agenda. If you are coming here to work, this is what we want you to achieve. All right. And I think a lot of those things will be curtailed. Now, coming back with people with similar philosophy merging. I don't know. But see what typical example. Let's look at the political atmosphere in Liberia. See CPP. All right, they are opposition. I think there are how many? 3 or 4 opposition parties that have tried to merge, but see the noise that is coming from there. All right, so I think I think if we can really rid ourselves of personal greed, which is sometimes very impossible. Because media institutions have vested interests and they have vested alignment in society. So to form such a merger is kind of difficult, but I think that's something that if we begin to encourage and propagate and see maybe using some political language, I mean, some politicians say shine the light in those spots, maybe who knows? There could be a consensus built for people to really see the need for merger. But are we there right now? I don't think so.
Dr. Johnson, President Milson, what are your thoughts on media merger?
Let me go first and then the president will come in later.
Yeah.
The issue of media merger is nothing new. It has been something that I've been toyed with for many, many years now, for over the last 20 years, if I'm thinking correctly. But the major challenge there is not just the issue of the philosophy of reportage. If you listen to the Publishers Association, the major challenge there is the source of financing. And if you have a situation where many media institutions are either owned by powerful politicians or powerful businessmen, it becomes difficult and a threat to independence to merge a media institutions whose sole target is independence and sustenance with another media institution whose sole target or whose sole philosophy is to promote or blow the horn of its owners. He who pays the piper, in this case, rightfully calls the tone. And so that has been a challenge. I know over the years they've managed to get only 2 media institutions to merge. That institution itself has died. It hasn't been on the newsstand, I think, for more than a year. So as we talk about media merger, we have to be sensitive to these questions. In that way, we are not only focusing on, not only addressing the question of sustainability. Yes, sustainability is very crucial, and it is not mutually exclusive with independence or ethical reporting. But if we go in pursuit of sustainability, not paying attention to its impact or how it can affect independence, we are going to jeopardize ethics, which is what we are fighting to ensure that you have an ethical media, not a media that we bias, but a media that will reflect the public interest.
Mr. President.
Yeah, I mean, we're adding more to what the Vice President said. My only rhetorical answer would be, if that was possible, it would have happened by now.
Sure.
The fact that it hasn't happened by now tells you that there are a lot of hurdles in the way of that happening. But that could have helped. But I just think there's too many vested interests when it comes to the media in Liberia. That's why it hasn't happened to this point.
So, who are some of the notable folks that attended the convention this year? I know Peter Massaquoi, who was the convention committee chairperson, was there. He spearheaded everything to bring it together. But there was some other journalists who came from far and near. If Joe or Sam, who was at the time the human resource person, could you just call some of those names? I think it's important for our viewers to know, some of the folks that came. I know Hassan Kerwood was there, and Joe Tay, and what's the guy named Joe Batois, and
That 12 moment
yeah,
editor of
just
the
call some of
newspaper.
those names.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are some.
I'll go first, and then maybe if I'm leaving out any names, I like to begin with our international friends. Mr. Isaac Ye, who is the Minister Counselor for Press and Public Affairs of the Liberian Embassy in Paris, France. He's a regular at our convention, and we're putting people pleased that he comes year after year to this convention, and you can't say anything more than his dedication to ALJA. We also had at this year's convention Mr. Abu Kamara. Mr. Abu Kamara is the Minister Counselor, the Liberian Embassy in Saudi Arabia. He also attended the convention. So we have some folks travel from outside the United States to come to the convention, and we're very, very pleased, even though we did not have our colleagues from Liberia come, but we had others travel from outside the country as well. And there was some back and forth in our chat room. There are other colleagues of ours who are in other parts of the world, and all they need to do is express interest in our convention, and we'll certainly extend to them an invitation. But internally, we had a lot of veteran journalists come to the convention from the names you mentioned, Mr. Jote, Mr. Joseph Atua, veterans, long years of practice in the profession. Former PEL president, Mr. Swat Dere, who was our elections commission chairperson, Mr. Hassan Kiawu. Hassan, by the way, was one of the original founders of ALJA, and we're so glad that he's returned to the family. And Hassan, thank you so much for the wonderful work during the course of the last several days in Trenton, New Jersey. Dr. Alex Red. Dr. Red is also an original founder of ALJA. He served on the Elections Commission as well. So there are a lot of names, that not coming to mind right now. But
Yeah, Madia Gibson for the first time.
yes. There are a lot of first timers as well. Maria Gibson, Pauletta Snyder Innocent, Patricia
Deputy Baker.
Patricia Livingstone, Dakanti, Jackson Baker. So, and just as I mentioned those names, someone just sent me a message to say, what are you guys doing to people who are on the fence, to come to ALJA? I will say this much: our organization is open to every Liberian journalist here in the United States. We are open. We invite you to come on board, join us in what we are doing. And let's, we've talked about all these challenges that exist in the media. Many of us live the life our colleagues are living now in Liberia. We practiced the profession there. We went to the same press conferences. We went through some of the same struggles. So we understand the issues firsthand. All we are asking is for us to come together collectively, put our resources together, and let's be able to just impact the media in the way that benefits our country, that benefits our colleagues, and benefit our democracy. So I just want to say that since I got a text to put that call out there for those who want to be a part of what ALJA is doing.
So, Mr. President, I want to pick a bone with you. You decided to leave out the issues room crew, Mr. Volcano Shelton.
But not only that.
Mr. Volcano
But not only
Shelton
that.
were
Not only that.
also part of the gathering.
Let me add this quick, Moses. There
Yeah,
were spouses that came, like your wife, Peter's wife,
Yeah.
Kadi's husband,
Lincoln Bryan's wife.
yeah,
Right.
Lincoln, all these
Yeah,
people.
Lincoln brothers.
Mr.
Even
President,
That
how
was
is talking now, my man?
let's
Yeah.
let's come back. Let's come back to
And
this.
Volcano,
Let's come back to this.
quickly, Volcano.
Okay.
We also had, I think, we have what he named Tobo Yenswa. He was there.
Yeah. He's a friend of the media. Yeah.
You know, he came, and we have James Blitten.
Yeah.
He's one of Liberia's renowned journalists. He was there. We have Fred Cooper,
Yes.
who was station manager for Kiss FM. So we have all those folks, and
Master Washington from the issues room.
Right, Master Washington. Right, So I mean, I know that. Yeah, those were just a few names that popped up in my head that were able to attend. Of course,
Lincoln Bryant, Lincoln Bryant,
and
well,
Brown
I call her the troublesome woman, Manika.
Manika Shaw, yes.
Yeah. But I want to come back quickly to remind us that we have about 8 more minutes to go. Let me just put this question to any one of you. What is that one thing ALJA going to do when you leave here to begin this new tenure for the next 2 years? What is that one thing that is pressing right now that you're going to initiate?
So I don't know if it's one thing, but we are operating on multiple.
Yeah. But let's start with the one serious thing.
So I will give that one thing. The first thing we intend to do right now is to begin liaising with the PEL to draw up the criteria for the scholarship, because we intend to start a scholarship project as soon as possible. Okay, and then we just and Dr. Johnson and Beverly Wayne, we just got some information today that there's a new grant opportunity out there now. So my committee will start working intensely now to start addressing that, to see how we can secure that grant. But the goal is to remain laser focused on helping our colleagues as much as possible. Just to seeing how we can address some of the issues, the litany of issues we just talked about when it comes to the media in Liberia. So that would be our goal. One of the things someone mentioned to me as well, and maybe that is something we've overlooked because we've been so focused on just reaching out to our colleagues in Liberia. They said to me, Joe, we are ALJA members. What is it that we can benefit from as an organization? Because we live here, and we want to see how. Yeah, we come to this convention, we pay dues, but what is it that we can benefit from as members of ALJA? So we're looking into that as well to see, can we provide some professional training? What do we do, for our members here? So that is something we're looking into right now. But just engaging the PEL and trying to get a scholarship project on the way, working with the PEL to make sure that we providing funding for the specialty reporting. The committee obviously will meet too to see how we work on additional training opportunities and professional development seminar for our colleagues in Liberia. Now that we have a little bit of funding, not a lot of funding, but a little bit of funding we never had before, we intend to put that to good purpose, to good use.
And I think Moses, the internal training for some of us will benefit from it. Moses, you
Absolutely.
Because we're a little bit rusted, we want to be refreshed. So
and good thing because I think the tendency sometimes is folks who've been in the media for a while think they know it all.
Absolutely not.
Not realizing that there are new methods, there are new technology that we need to adapt to. So the fact that folks here now, like you guys now, the Moses now is back to being Volcano. You've been there for a while, but Massa and Moses now they're back to doing regular programs.
Yeah, we're practicing again. We keep ourselves retired. No more. We're not retired. We came out of retirement. Even though on a voluntary basis,
I agree. So how do we make sure that we're incorporating our own people into some of
help us out?
It's something we got to look into as well.
And Mr. President, let me take you guys to a little bit of politics. And this time I'd like to make reference to the statement delivered by the Minister of Information regarding the commitment of the WE administration in fighting graft in Liberia. He spoke after the PLP political leader, condemned the government for paying little or no attention to dealing with the problem of corruption in the public sector. And he did say, and Minister Rennie did say that Dr. Cassell's assessment of what is happening in Liberia was inaccurate, because he says that now they have made the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, the LACC, more powerful than any other administration because the LACC now has a prosecutory power. That is, they can prosecute any case of corruption in the country. Help us understand here, guys. Do you see a real commitment by the we administration in fighting graft in Liberia? How many cases have they prosecuted? With all the reports about mismanagement of public resources, do you see a real commitment? Any of you can go on this.
Well, I would say I don't. Emphatically I would say that because first of all, we heard about when the WIA administration came to place, we heard about missing money, and the then information minister Eugene Namwe, he also came to clarify the amount. What has become the funding of that missing money? I don't see it. All right. There are people were accused of there has been names calling concerning ritualistic killing. All right. We don't hear anything. Has there been any kind of investigation that we know of? I haven't heard that. We see all kinds of things happening in the country. So, for example, one of the things we're talking about, independent journalism. Take, for example, look at when Mr. Weir was a senator. I mean, he served. How long did he serve? I don't even know.
6 years.
6 years. What did he do? How many structure did he put down? We didn't see that. Now, when he got inaugurated, within a twinkling of an eye, the property on Sincar, it was put together, and we see all the different structure. Now, where is the declaration of asset? We don't see any of those, and we see people coming out with all these fabulous buildings. Where did they get the money from? So when you talk about fighting corruption, the boss had to start with the government official, but I don't see that. So corruption is still, I think it's just an illusion that the information minister will say we fight. What's the result we have seen from our country? I have not seen that. I could be wrong, but I have not seen that. All of you here are Liberian, though you live in the United States. But what is the evidence? I don't see the evidence of fighting corruption in Liberia.
Thank you. Quickly, we're just about running out of time. It's 8:29, and we should be out of here. So I would just say probably 1 minute each. Let's start with Dr. Johnson. Quick, give your closing statement. 1 minute.
Well, thank you for hosting us, and also thank you to my colleagues for voting me as their vice president for the next 2 years. The challenges are palpable, but one thing we will say, I think I speak for the president when I say this, is that we're going to do all our best we can to move ALJA to the next level, while focusing on the needs of our colleagues in Liberia, but also being sensitive to the needs of our colleagues here in the United States.
Okay, Joel, let me just give you this question as your closing. From Massa, Washington, she says, is there any plan by ALJA to assist in training the Liberian media colleagues in the area of public interest and developmental journalism? Just close on that quick.
We should the journalists in Liberia, or she referring to journalists here?
She's referring to the Liberian media colleagues. So that means media colleagues in Liberia.
She's making reference to Liberian journalists as a whole.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, when we discuss the different areas of focus when it comes to training, developmental journalism was certainly one of those areas we talked about. But when we talked about ethics and independence or sustainability in this convention, we felt that was an important issue at the time to discuss. But developmental journalism certainly is a component of what we intend to include in our training opportunities going forward. So yeah, certainly, and Dr. Johnson here will bear me witness. So when we do meet and line up these different training opportunities, that will be one of the focus we will do it on as well. So thank you, Marcel, for mentioning that.
Mr. Board Chair, 1 minute.
Well, I think I will encourage all of us, those who are fence sitting. If you see reason in the work we do in advocating what we stand for: press freedom, freedom of everything, in order to make sure that our country is democratically uh, okay. I think I will encourage all of us to come on board, to offer our services. This is a voluntary services we are rendering. Those folk who, like Moses said, you, Volcano, I know you have spent your personal resources into this organization. So and the only intent is to help build a vibrant media institutions in Liberia. So those of you who believe in our cause, please join us so that we can all together build this great organization and leave an imprint behind. It's not about us, it's about our country and generation that will come after us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for coming in the issues room. I thought that this discussion was very, very cardinal at this time. We wish you guys well in your 2-year tenure. We'll be in the background if you need the issues room to support in any way. I'm sure Moses, you're in agreement, and Masa will be here because publicity is critical for ALJA to continue on the trajectory that is yes, but again, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We'll leave you now, and Moses and myself will wrap up. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
It was a pleasure having all of you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much. So, Moses, there you have it. I mean, I think much was said here tonight.
Yeah, the discussion was good. ALJA came, our executives came in full swing. They made a case. They have given people, who had different perception about ALJA's work, ALJA's role in the community. At least they provided a lot of information that I think would be helpful in really educating people about what the organization is all about, what it seeks to accomplish. So I think it was a good interview.
Well, before we go, this is our 6th edition. Next week, we want to cover grounds for particularly review the issues of ritualistic killings in Liberia. And not just ritualistic killings, but also all the killings. What we're finding now, people are being killed and all of their organs are taken away. Is it black market sales of people organs? So many things happening.
Right.
Why it is true that people are also saying that these things are all videos from other countries, and the politicians just trying to paint the country's image bad. But when you have the vice president, I'm sure Dr. Howard is a learned woman. She wouldn't just come out and say this is a serious situation and it's alarming. I'm sure she's done her homework and she's aware of these things, Moses.
Absolutely, I agree. And that's one of the greatest challenges with the we administration. I think coordination at the level of the executives and other key players in the work of the government. Coordination is very, very poor because you have a director of police who came to dismiss almost everything that's out there. It is politicians, the stories are not true, people are framing tales just to make the government to look bad. And you have the vice president to say, hey, this thing here goes beyond politics. It's about the welfare of our people. And I think she spoke very well. It is important that as a government, we commit resources, we commitment in probing some of these, reports regarding people being slaughtered here and there. I support her 100%.
So I think we should just hold a thought. On Tuesday, we'll be delving into it even further.
Absolutely.
We hope to find the right experts to come here and let's engage. Again, we want to thank everyone all of our viewers from all over the world who joined us in the issues room tonight. We say thank you so much for being a part of, what we do. We are very, very appreciative, and we can thank our viewers more. Oh, Moses, also, just a quick reminder, we got some hoodies coming out. Um, you need to tell me your size, and it's going to cost you. So
Oh yeah, sure,
it's
sure.
part of the publicity campaign. But
Okay.
again, can't say much, but just a wonderful time here tonight. We missed Masa. Hopefully, she'll be back here with us on Tuesday. Again, we say thanks to everyone. Join the issues room Tuesdays and Fridays 7 p.m. Eastern time, and let's continue to do this. That's what you love. That's what I love, and that's what Masa loves. Let's continue to do this. Thank you so much, my brother. We'll catch
Thank
up
you
soon.
too.
I think I'll meet you in the studios. Okay.
Yeah, we shouldn't be here. Thank you
All right.
too. It
Okay.
was a pleasure, Volcano. Talk to
Good.
you soon. Bye.
Good. Very shortly.